All members of the family denied the IP activity. Agents were allowed to view devices and internet history, found no corroboration of the alleged internet activity. Yikes. How long will I need to hide before I will be moved to Ukraine? What?
By assassinating President Donald Trump, and to do it, he was willing to kill his own parents.
The teen Trump assassin arrested, documents now released, showing some very interesting things, including a connection to Ukraine, saying this guy, after the assassination, was going to relocate to Ukraine and escape the law. Wild situation happening here. The documents now just being released. This is a photograph of the individual, 17 years old, and was arrested after eliminating his parents, saying there's now an extremist plot that's been busted to eliminate Trump. Now, the documents are also insane, but this guy's name is Nikita Kasep, 17, was arrested in March. Many charges. Court documents say that they're also looking into conspiracy, presidential assassination, use of weapons of mass destruction. And this is now being framed as, I think, a right-wing extremist group by many on the left. And there's much more to the story, obviously. Remember, the prior two assassination attempts were very close to being successful. Trump got shot in the head by Thomas Matthew Crooks, and then when Congress formed their bipartisan committee, they burned the body within about 10 days before anybody could look at it. Then his apartment was professionally cleaned. He had absolutely no social media presence. Looks like that was all scrubbed too. And he was meeting with weird people at gun ranges in various locations. Very strange. Then Ryan Ruth, the golf course attempted assassin, was also seen flying back and forth to Ukraine. And now Ukraine emerges once again. Very strange stuff. So you can see the stepfather, Donald Mayer, and the mother, Tatiana, both found dead inside their home back on March 1st. And this guy's documents are now being publicized as his case is being processed. But let me show you what's going on here. So this was an original search warrant that was drafted. They got their hands on a bunch of stuff. So including this guy's iPhone, bunch of computers, iPads, all sorts of stuff. They went and gobbled it up. Trail camera, Apple, iPads, iPhones, bunch of digital cameras, HP laptops, bunch of stuff, right? So they went, they got the search warrant, got their hands on the documents, but this is what they filed in their application for this search warrant. And this is where we see some of these bizarre connections emerge. Here, this is an affidavit for a search warrant submitted by Justin Mosselman. He says, I make this affidavit in support of a search warrant, says, I'm a special agent at the FBI, been there since 2019, done a bunch of work on bombs and explosives and more. Now, what I find is probable cause here to get this search warrant for these charges: conspiracy, presidential assassination, and use of weapons of mass destruction, and more. And here's where this begins. Not too long ago, on February 28th, 9:44 in the morning, Donald Mayer's mother, stepfather's mom, JM, contacted the police. I haven't heard from my son in a while. Can you guys do a welfare check at the residence? We're unable to contact the family over there. And we're also learning that the boy, Nikita, hasn't attended high school for about 2 weeks. And the school resource officer also requested a welfare check because the kid has been gone for 2 weeks missing. On February 28th, two law enforcement officers did a welfare check on the people at the home. The deputy was unable to make contact with the residents and got information from the neighbors. We haven't seen him around recently. So the deputy contacted the work manager for the stepfather, received information he hadn't been worked since February 13th, but had communicated saying, I'm sick and I'm unable to work. Okay, so stepfather, who's probably dead at this point, has been texting with his boss, probably the son. So then on February 28th at 1:40 p.m., deputies entered the residence through the garage, found mom Tatiana deceased, gunshot wounds in the garage, covered with blankets. Residence was secured. Then the sheriff requested emergency pings on the cell phone for Donald Mayer and Nikita, saying, okay, we got a homicide here. Both phones were located in the area of Laramie, Wyoming. Now, a neighbor immediately to the west of the residence, called PF, provided information to the sheriff that there had been little activity at the residence for 2 weeks. On February 23rd, PF, the neighbor, observed Mayer's black SUV driving away from the residence. So goes from Wisconsin to Wyoming. During a secondary search of the residence, they look around. Donald Mayer was located. So now stepdad is found deceased also from gunshot wounds in the first floor office, also covered in blankets. During the search, they found a receipt for a .357. The firearm was not located in the residence. Based on the information and security footage and more, thinks that they were killed on February 11th at 6:30 and 8:40 respectively. So then they reviewed the ping records on that cell phone from Nikita, the boy's phone. They found it at the world's largest truck stop located in Iowa. The police department also provided security footage of Kasep operating the black Volkswagen Atlas SUV along with a dog. On February 28th, Mayer's vehicle was listed as stolen. Kasep was entered as a missing juvenile in the NICS. At 11:25, 5 that day, the Waukene, Kansas conducted a traffic stop on the SUV. An unloaded .357 Magnum was observed in plain view, boxes of .357 38 Special, Mayor and Tatiana's wallets, large amount of U.S. currency in euros, 2 cell phones belonging to the deceased were also found. They ultimately arrested this kid for theft of a vehicle and possession of a firearm and cell phone. Now, they then got a search warrant. This is where it gets juicy. Now, during their review, they identified material on the phone related to the Order of 9 Angels. They also found possible usernames for CASEP, including the names Accelerationist 14 and Awoken. So on March 4th, the sheriffs executed a search warrant for the vehicle. During the search, they found a bunch of other things: a pried open safe, women's jewelry, electronics, iPads, cell phones, laptops, 14 Gs in banking documents, hard drives, external storage hard drives, a Simply Safe, home security sensor, and a Y security camera with a micro SD card. Now, the Order of 9 Angels, or O9A, is a network of individuals, they say, holding neo-Nazi, racially motivated extremist views. The O9A advocates for the use of violence and terrorism to destroy modern civilization and to overthrow governments. So terrorists. So as you can see, it continues telling us. The police looked at the phones. They got the images. They also got a manifesto, and there's a lot of details coming up, about eliminating President Trump making bombs and explosives and other terrorist attacks. They also looked at the Telegram messages. Between February 14th and the 24th, messages in Russian were identified from phone notifications and translated. It says, reply to them all and say, you got sick. Drag them to the basement, were these messages. The sheriff's review of the security camera and the micro SD card also revealed footage that included lighting what they believed were scented candles, right, to cover up the dead body smell of his executed parents, and rummaging through a desk while near a mound of blankets and pillows covering the body. So now they talk about this dude's ideology. They say on March 7th to March 8th, a preliminary review of the device said the following. Here were the following conversations. It's between this person called Awoken and Mystic Thesis. Awoken says December 6th through 8th, 2024. So for timeline context, Trump has won the election. He's going to be sworn in 4 weeks, soon. Says, you know, it's kind of interesting how I told this girl best friend about how I follow O9A teachings and whatnot. She was pretty chill about it. I feel like most people would freak out. How about you? Does anyone in real life know you're into O9A? Charlie Manson? Well, they know. Charlie Manson? Well, they know. My parents don't know. They would take away my phone if they did, especially since last year the FBI visited. LOL. The last year the FBI visited? Huh? Feel like you're doing a great job here, son. Going for Trump? Here's some more bullets for you here, son. Get out there and have some fun with it. Mystic Thesis says, my parents know. The FBI interviewed the case of family in November 2023 for unrelated internet IP activity. All members of the family denied the IP activity. Agents were allowed to view devices and internet history, found no corroboration of the alleged internet activity. Yikes. Mystic Thesis says, my parents know. Awoken says, are you over 18? Because I'm not. Thus, they still have control to take my stuff away. Yeah, me neither. And your parents don't care that you're under? Me neither. So who is this? So it seems like Awoken is probably him. And they're talking. Then Nelius says to Awoken, hey dude, do you know any Telegram group where Niners and Drex can interact and exchange info? Sorry, no, I'm mostly an NSWP crew, Telegram groups, LOL. Well, if you do find any, it'd be nice if you tell me, says Awoken. What's WP? WP is white power. Oh, white power, cool. Do you know any O9A Telegram groups? You mean any O9A Telegram groups? Yeah, typo. Do you know why? He says, do you know any? Yeah, typo. Oh, not a group, but a channel. You can find documents there. Okay, send it to me. Here's the link. Can you send me the link to the account? It says I can't access the message. How can I do that? Wait a sec. Okay, here's mine. Accelerationist number 14. He's Awoken. This is the attempted assassin. Okay, I sent a message. So then Telegram message, January 21st, 2025. Trump is now in office. The assassin says, well, what country do you think will get the blame for this? He says, Russia will be blamed for it. This is the goal, to blame Russia. Oh. When the time comes for me to send my manifesto to you so that you can spread it online, should it be a PDF? What format's best for you? Do you like a Google Doc or should it be a PDF? What do you want? Also, you won't anyhow change or modify the manifesto. He says, actually write it on a piece of paper and take a picture of it. So this is an unknown person, probably, I don't know, CIA or Zelensky. Maybe it's Zelensky's best friend. Zelensky's over there. Yeah, just write it down. We'll blame Putin on it. FBI personnel performing a preliminary review also saw images of a 3-page document that says, accelerate the collapse. Now, the images, which appear to be screen grabs of a document that was on the phone, were created on February 28th. The document appears to be a manifesto by Accelerationist. In the messages with the unknown user, unknown, above the paragraph calling for the elimination of President Trump in order to foment a political revolution in the U.S. to, quote, save the white race from, quote, Jewish-controlled politicians. The third page of the document contained images of Hitler. Yes. Says, okay, hail Hitler, says this, says the document. The white race, hail victory, says the document. Says excerpts are here, right? He writes some other stuff that you can read. Here's what he writes. He says, it's clear that Jews control all the white countries, and it's clear that they promote white genocide and degeneracy. This, for the white race to survive, it is necessary to accelerate the collapse of the countries. Jewish occupied governments must fall. The white race cannot survive unless America collapses. Okay, so America needs to collapse because the Jews are in charge, is what this guy says. Now, as to why are they taking out Trump? I think it's obvious. By getting rid of the president and perhaps the vice president too. Wow. That is guaranteed to bring in some chaos. And not only that, but it will further bring into the public the idea that eliminations accelerating the collapse are possible things to do. Wow. Now, if you want to say that you aren't capable of committing these acts in the manifesto, this is perfectly fine for now. The next best thing you can do is to tribe and train, make connections, join white conscious martial arts clubs, because once America collapses, there would have to be a network that can take its place. Okay, and just to be ultra clear, I disavow all of that. We're just reading it for completeness so that you can see what is happening here. They then say these are NVEs. Okay, so this is the FBI guy. These are NVEs. We know what these people are. They say they use social media. They're trying to commit violence. They demand things. They harm animals. They do a bunch of bad things. And historically, they have targeted certain people threatening violence and more. Now, these networks use various monikers to identify themselves. They write manifestos. We read it. Now, the FBI personnel performing this review saw an image with information of using drone attacks as well. Now, the information contains directions on how to extend the range of a drone attack by using repeater drones and ways to avoid detections, like making a drone from a kit rather than commercial off-the-shelf brands. They also use small droppers to drop explosives or Molotovs, very strong poisons. They also say don't bring a cell phone with you when you're going to do these attacks. Here's where the Ukrainian stuff comes in. Now, FBI personnel performing the preliminary review also saw a Telegram direct message conversation with this person called Puma Biktobahu, who writes in Cyrillic and has the Ukrainian mobile telephone number, what? At this address, +380. Now, in the conversation, the accelerationist called Kassap says, how long will I need to hide before I will be moved to Ukraine? What? 1 to 2 months before they come and pick him up? Also, I probably should brush up on my Russian because I can understand just fine, but speaking is harder, LOL. So while in Ukraine, I'll be able to get a normal job and have a normal life? Question mark? What? Even if when it's found out I did it, I can do all of this in Ukraine? Oh, do the other 10 people also have similar beliefs to I? 10 people? So first of all, who is he talking to on the other end of this? Or are they different than me? Assuming that my parents won't leave, remainder of the message is cut off. Wild. Now, FBI personnel performing the review also saw Telegram direct messages with Angel of Death is this username that contain the following messages from Kassap. Says a drone with the dropping mechanism. Says, yeah, I still have to ask someone regarding what should be the carrying capacity of the drone, unless he told you already. Anyway, yeah, so the drone would drop a bomb, he says, with nuts, bolts, and needles. So I'll need all that. Angel of Death is responding, says the total amount will be $1,200 to $1,500 in payment by ton. BTC USDT. Bike waiting time 7 to 10 days. The IED 2500 model is reserved from you. Do you confirm the purchase? Yeah, I'm aware you will only start working once I've paid you, so I'll text you when I can pay. That includes the headphones as well? Quality one to protect the hearing from gunshots, like a 357, just making sure. What's your Bitcoin address? Just making sure. All right, so once the transfer is complete, I'll be able to pick it up. Is it just the drone with the dropping mechanism or also explosives? How much will 200 wheels cost for this bike? So they then perform a preliminary exigency review and also saw direct message conversations with an individual called Forrest, who writes in Cyrillic that contain messages to obtain a different license plate and coordinates along with driving directions from a current location in southwest Wyoming through Kansas to a location at Pumpkin Center, Oklahoma. Like, this dude has a handler moving him around. Additionally, username Alexander says, and then from there to California, it's 30 hours. You think I'll have enough time? FBI personnel performing the analysis also saw images credited with Mayer, the dead stepfather's credit card, PNC Bank and others, armed forces and more. All of his licenses he's got his hands on. Then they interviewed a classmate on March 10th. The classmate said, yeah, this dude was nuts. He would send gore videos and war images put to Russian music via Snapchat. So all like the Ukrainian videos, he's like texting all of his classmates around it. He told the classmate he was going to eliminate his parents once I get a gun. He later told the classmate that he would befriend someone with a gun, steal the gun, said he was in contact with a male in Russia via Telegram, and they're going to overthrow the government and eliminate Trump. Said they saw 10 consecutive attacks in the news. If you saw it, it would have been me. In some, they say, this this dude wrote a manifesto. He was in touch with other parties about his plan to eliminate Trump, and he paid for, at least in part, a drone and explosives. The killing of the parents also appeared to be an effort to get financial means and independence. They got their hands on a bunch of the devices, all of these devices: computers, laptops, digital cameras, home security cameras, cell phones, the vehicle, thumb drives. Look at all these cell phones, iPads, laptops, a lot of tech. It was tech up. Also, based on knowledge and experience, says there's also removable memory, and there could be stuff on Internet of Things and digital video recorders and more. So we want to look at the hard drives. So that's why we need it. So I need to look at their cell phone devices and look inside. And thank you for your permission. This is the property that we're going to search. Judge, with your permission. And I'm sure there is a lot more coming. Okay, so that's what we knew before this search warrant occurred. Now they're going to look in the files, and there's going to be a lot more there. Here's what Fox News said in the report. Let's see if they mention the Ukrainian angle.
Accused of killing his parents as part of a convoluted plot to then assassinate President Trump and overthrow the U.S. government. Garrett Tenney has more on this bizarre development story in Chicago. Garrett, hello.
Yeah, Bill, it really is wild. This 17-year-old apparently wanted to throw the country into chaos by assassinating President Donald Trump, and to do it, he was willing to kill his own parents. According to the FBI, Nikita Kasich killed both his mom and stepdad back in February to help him get the money and autonomy he needed to carry out his plan. When police arrested the teen, he had $14,000 on a gun, as well as a manifesto on his phone about killing the president, making bombs, and carrying out terrorist attacks. The FBI says the teen paid in part for a drone and explosives that he planned to use, and which he had talked to others about online, including a man in Russia. Court documents state he later told Classmate that he was in contact with a male in Russia via Telegram, and they were planning to overthrow the government of the United States and assassinate Trump. Kasich told the Classmate that when they saw 10 consecutive attacks in the news, it would have been him. Detectives also allegedly found messages indicating that the teen planned to leave the U.S. for Ukraine after carrying out the planned assassination. A search of the teen's phone allegedly turned up ties to a satanic cult that espouses white supremacist and neo-Nazi views. He is already facing a long list of charges, including murder and theft. Additional charges could be filed now as well. His next court hearing is May 7th.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely bizarre. And he'll apparently get a job in Ukraine, just doing whatever Ukrainians do over there these days. So we'll keep our eye on this one, see if there's any more releases now that that search warrant seems like it was granted, executed, and they've got their hands on how many iPads are in there. Who was this guy talking to? Was it the same guy talking to Thomas Matthew Crooks? Hopefully we'll find that out. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do.